Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really tearing into the science behind perimenopause and postmenopause, and we're going way beyond just hot flashes and mood swings. We want to understand what is actually happening to your metabolism, your muscles, your brain when those key hormones start to decline.
Exactly. And our mission here for you, the listener, is really, really essential. We want to shift your perspective. We want you to stop feeling like this is just happening to you and start feeling, well, empowered. Because the crucial thing here, which all the new research is showing, is that we're the first generation of women really digging into this science. And the findings are clear. When estrogen and progesterone drop, every single system in the body takes a hit.
Okay, so let's unpack that and get that control back, because if you know the mechanism, you can actually make intentional changes. We have to start by thinking about this whole thing, this whole transition, as what some people are calling reverse puberty. That framework, it's the key.
Absolutely. Understanding the why gives you the blueprint for the how. Your body isn't breaking down. It's changing its entire operating system.
So let's start with a really foundational definition, just to make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is menopause?
Yeah, it's often confused, right? People think it's this whole decade-long process. But biologically, it's surprisingly specific. Menopause is one day.
One day.
Just one day on the calendar. The day that marks 12 consecutive months without a period. That's it. The time before that, which can be 4, maybe even 14 years, that's perimenopause. That's where the hormones are just fluctuating like crazy. And everything after that one day is postmenopause. It's a new biological state.
That reverse puberty analogy is so helpful. I mean, we all remember puberty, right? That rush of hormones changing everything. If that was the key being put into the lock, what's happening now when the key is pulled out?
That is the perfect metaphor. In puberty, the hormone, the key, comes in. It turns the lock, and you get a biological expression. Hips widen, bone density increases. Now, the key is gone. But the locks, the estrogen receptors, they are everywhere in your heart, your brain, your bones, your muscles, and they're suddenly looking for the hormone. And when it's not there, the body starts to decrease the sensitivity of those receptors.
So the body is basically trying to run its engine with a massive driver missing.
Precisely.
Right.
And we have to talk about progesterone. It gets ignored all the time.
Yeah.
It's called the Cinderella hormone for a reason.
Yeah.
Everyone focuses on estrogen, but progesterone is critical. It moderates estrogen, sure, but it also has this huge effect on our autonomic nervous system.
Wait, hold on. The autonomic nervous system, that's our fight or flight, our rest and digest, heart rate, breathing. What happens when progesterone is just gone from that equation?
It causes all of that to, well, go awry. Progesterone helps keep that sympathetic, that fight or flight system in check. When we lose it, the sympathetic drive just cranks up. You get a higher resting heart rate, more shallow breathing, more anxiety, and of course that terrible disruption of deep sleep.
And that right there is a huge driver of stress. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for me. The systemic consequences. Let's start at the top. The brain. Why do so many women in this phase feel like their brain is just unreliable?
Because the hormone withdrawal directly hits your brain chemistry. Estrogen is a huge driver for 2 key neurotransmitters. Serotonin, which is calming, and dopamine, which is about reward and focus. When the hormones drop, and this is most intense in the, say, 6 years before and a few years after menopause, those messengers just become chaotic. You get mood volatility, anxiety, and that classic brain fog. But it's also a fuel crisis. Estrogen and progesterone help the brain use glucose effectively. When they drop, glucose sensitivity goes down. The brain is a massive energy hog, so this creates a misstep in how it fuels itself. It affects everything.
So the brain's misfiring, and on top of that, low estrogen causes this widespread inflammation. Is that what's behind the body composition changes, the menopause?
That is the crucial link. It starts with an increase in total body inflammation. This inflammation actually creates a structural change in your circulating fat molecules. They become what we call esterified fatty acids.
Okay, esterified fatty acids. In practical terms, what does that mean?
It means your liver reads those reshaped fat molecules differently. Instead of using them for energy, it immediately shuttles them into storage as visceral fat. And that is the menopause, that tough, deep flesh fanny pack that pushes the gut out.
The flesh fanny pack? I think every woman listening just nodded in silent, frustrated recognition. That's a tough one. And we know that's the dangerous fat, right?
Exactly. This isn't just a little jiggle. Visceral fat packs itself around your organs, your liver, your pancreas, and it massively increases your cardiovascular risk. It's metabolically active in all the wrong ways.
Wow.
And you see it in other places too, like the triceps, the meat wings. That's partly a thermoregulation issue. The body's signals for heating and cooling are just off.
So if a fat is changing, the muscle must be too, which explains that feeling of just being squishy and weak.
That feeling is 100% physiological. Estrogen is directly responsible for building lean mass, for strong muscle contractions, and for regenerating muscle after you use it. When it's gone, strength and function take a huge hit. And because your tendons and ligaments are tied to muscle strength, you see these very specific injuries.
Like the classic injuries everyone seems to get in their late 40s and 50s.
Yes. Specifically, frozen shoulder is a big one. Achilles tendonitis and plantar fascia. Plantar fascia is so often linked to calf weakness and changes in the Achilles. It's all connected back to estrogen. This isn't just aging. It's a very specific hormonal adjustment.
Okay, let's pivot to the gut. And those cravings, they can feel so intense, so uncontrollable.
Well, first, we see a major decline in gut microbiome diversity.
Yeah.
Fewer types of good bacteria. And that matters because something like 95% of your body's serotonin is produced in the gut. So your stress and calm levels are already fighting an uphill battle. But the real trap here is something called the protein leverage effect. Because estrogen drove lean mass, its loss leads to an increased breakdown of muscle. Your body develops this high, urgent physiological need for protein.
But my brain is screaming for sugar, not a chicken breast. Why the disconnect?
Exactly. Your brain is reacting to the stress of low estrogen, to that high sympathetic drive. High cortisol puts you in fight or flight, and your brain demands the fastest fuel it can get.
Sugar.
Quick hits of simple carbs. And it's a leverage effect, because if you don't give the body enough protein, it keeps the hunger signal on. It forces you to overeat other things, trying to hit that protein minimum. It's a vicious cycle.
Okay, that was intense, but necessary. We've established what's happening. So now let's shift the tone. How do we adapt? How do we thrive?
It all starts with intentional stress. And first, a quick note on menopause hormone therapy, or MHT. It's a useful tool, for sure. But it only slows the rate of change. It doesn't stop it. You still have to do the lifestyle work. You have to build lean mass and bone.
So if we're rewiring our entire nervous system, where do we apply that positive stress to force the adaptation?
The single most important thing a woman in midlife can do is strength training. And I mean lifting heavy loads. This isn't just about your muscles. It is primarily a central nervous system response.
Explain that. You said estrogen was the star player. If she's gone, how does heavy lifting get the nervous system to adapt?
Okay, so think of your motor units. When the star player estrogen is gone, lifting a heavy weight forces the nervous system to coordinate incredibly fast. It has to aggressively pull in acetylcholine, that's a key neurotransmitter for nerve muscle communication, to stimulate a powerful contraction. You are literally building a new, more efficient signaling pathway to generate force without relying on the old hormone driver.
You're creating a workaround, a compensatory mechanism.
Exactly. And that adaptation improves neuroplasticity in the brain. It helps with cognition, memory, and stress resilience. It's a full body, full brain upgrade.
That is so motivating. And it's never too late to start, right?
And never. Research shows older women can become significantly stronger post-menopause than they were in their 30s.
Okay, let's talk application. What's the protocol?
To start, just 10 minutes, 3 times a week, body weight, light dumbbells. Just get started. The ideal is 3 times a week, total body, heavy lifting. And we focus on quality, not volume. You want to be lifting at an RPE, a rating of perceived exertion, of about an 8 out of 10.
RPE 8 out of 10. For someone who hasn't used that scale, what does that actually feel like?
It feels like when you finish your set, you might have had only 2 more good reps left in the tank. It shouldn't be easy, but it's not grinding failure. And you use low reps, maybe 3 sets of 5, 2 sets of 3. But the non-negotiable part, this is essential, is the rest. You must take a full 3 minutes between those heavy sets.
3 minutes. That feels like a long time.
It is, because you're working the nervous system, not just your muscles. You need that time for the neural drive to fully recharge so the next set is just as high quality. If you cut the rest short, you're cheating the whole adaptation.
That makes so much sense. Okay, what about cardio? Do we have to slog it out on the treadmill?
Please don't. Avoid that moderate intensity cardio. It's too easy to be truly hard, but too hard to be true recovery. It often just spikes cortisol. We want to look at HIIT, high-intensity interval training, or even better, sprint interval training, or SIT.
Okay, SIT.
It means going as hard as you possibly can for 30 seconds or less. Yeah. Maximal effort, and then you take a full recovery, maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. The recovery is key, so the quality of the next sprint stays high. If you can't maintain that intensity, you just stop. It's brief, powerful, and incredibly effective. Okay, so that covers exercise. Let's move to nutrition, the most common mistake. The classic one, cutting calories and increasing training. It just adds more stress to an already stressed system. Drives cortisol right up. The fix is simple, really. Women need more food, especially high-quality food. You need quality carbs, fruits, vegetables, whole grains to feed that struggling gut microbiome. But the biggest lever is protein. To fight that muscle breakdown, you should aim for about 1 gram of protein per pound of your current body weight. 1 gram per pound. That honestly sounds like a logistical nightmare for most people. What's a more actionable starting point? That's a great question because it is a huge shift. The pitfall is thinking you need to eat giant steaks all day. The actionable start is to make sure you get a minimum of 30 to 40 grams of protein in every major meal. If you miss that threshold, the leverage effect kicks in.
So how do you do that?
You have to get creative. A mixed salad with peas, nuts, seeds, some feta. Suddenly you're in that 30-gram range. A protein coffee in the morning is another brilliant hack to get you there fast. You have to be intentional.
Let's touch on stress and sleep. Losing progesterone already puts us on edge.
Right. We look at 4 buckets for change: mindfulness and sleep, physical activity, nutrition, and community. Mindfulness directly increases your parasympathetic, or rest and digest drive. That's essential for deep sleep. In fact, research on CBT for insomnia often shows it works better than MHT or supplements.
And are there any specific supplements that are really backed by research for brain health and mood?
Yes, a few non-negotiables. L-theanine. It's a non-protein amino acid that helps that parasympathetic activation, about 200 milligrams before bed. It works really well with apigenin, which is the key component in chamomile tea. You can get it as a supplement. And critically, creatine monohydrate. 3 to 5 grams a day. It's not just for muscle. It saturates the brain, improves brain metabolism, and helps with stress resilience. Studies show it helps women exit anxious or depressive episodes faster.
And that loops right back to strength training, doesn't it? Building strength under physical stress in the gym. Does that translate to life?
It's a complete psychological feedback loop.
Yeah.
The research is clear. By training your nervous system to cope with high physical demand, you're training it to cope with high demand in life. It directly reduces anxiety. You just feel more capable.
So we've gone from feeling like we're losing control to understanding that our body is actually designed to adapt. We have the power to rewire our own systems.
Exactly. Do not be afraid of this. We are only halfway through our lives. We might live for another 40 years. This knowledge is your tool for empowerment. You know, in some cultures, there isn't even a word for hot flush. It's just life. The focus is on wisdom and strength. So I'd encourage you to just pick one of those 4 buckets: mindfulness, activity, nutrition, or community. Make one small change for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Just build slowly. You will own this.
That is such a powerful message and a perfect way to end. So if you, the listener, now know that your body can adapt its entire nervous system to lift a heavy weight without the hormones it once relied on, what other challenges in your life can you train your nervous system to overcome by intentionally embracing that positive stress? Explore that thought, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.